$299.
Sony versus Microsoft. The leaders of the console wars ever since Nintendo and Sega begrudgingly handed over the torch at the start of the century. These two companies have pushed gaming countless times over the years, and they're both aiming to launch some new consoles come holiday 2020. I've been a fan of both the Xbox and PlayStation growing up, and I'm eager to see what's coming this year. I figure it's a great time to talk about what they have in store, seeing as they showcase some games we should expect to see around launch time. Before that though, I want to take a look at exactly how we arrived at the Xbox Series X. God, who named this thing? And the PlayStation 5. Born out of a failed partnership with Nintendo to release a CD add-on for the SNES, Sony joined the game. See what just happened there? We're talking about game in the mid-90s with the original PlayStation during the inception of 3D gaming. They managed to actually hold their own against Nintendo on the game front, considering Nintendo repeated their innovation streak with Mario 64, the same way they did with the original Mario Bros. Back on the NES. Titles such as Crash Bandicoot, Resident Evil, and Metal Gear Solid prove that fun, unique games in the 3D space could exist outside of Nintendo's vision. If we're talking sales figures though, yeah, there's no question, Sony murdered Nintendo flat out. Sony continued on to dominate the market with the highest selling console of all time. All time. All time! Their second fucking console. That just blows my mind. If you take a look at the PS2's library, it's not hard to see why that was the case. God of War, the Grand Theft Autos, Shadow of the Colossus, Okami, Spider-Man 2, Kingdom Hearts, and we can't forget the crown jewel of the system. All while Sony was raising the second coming of Christ, Microsoft entered the ring for the first time, mirroring Sony just one generation prior with the Xbox. The Xbox didn't match anyone in terms of sales numbers, but they managed to bring some pretty big things into play. See, play is a verb referring to... Ever heard of a little game called Halo Combat Evolved? You know, the game that modernized first-person shooting on consoles. A game whose design concepts inspired countless other games for years to come. Loose usage of the word inspired. Yeah, no big deal. Oh, what's that? Halo 2 completely changed the way that we play video games online with others, using matchmaking features? Rest in peace, dedicated servers. Sony and Microsoft were pretty much neck and neck during the 7th console generation, both in terms of sales and quality, but that doesn't quite paint the whole picture considering the PS3's launch. Yeah, I'm kinda glad I don't remind people of November 2006 the way that this thing does. The PlayStation 3 was notoriously difficult to develop for, leading to ports on the system to run a bit jankier than the 360's version some of the time. Adopting the Blu-ray disc format made it so that producing these things was expensive, which meant that Sony was taking a loss on them even at its astronomical $700 price point. And come on, have you ever seen one of those baby commercials? The PS3 eventually came around, but it was too little too late. Both platforms offered some killer libraries though, and online gaming really blossomed during this era. They even took a swing at motion controls in the form of PlayStation Move and Xbox's very own Kinect. Man, there's nothing like trying to emulate Nintendo's very own motion cash cow just to realize it's a miracle that the Wii sold the way it did. You know, now that I think about it, there was a fair deal of copying Nintendo's homework going on between the two companies throughout the years. Sony held their own line of handhelds at one point. I remember the PSP being kinda fun. Well shit, how did the Vita do? Okay, it wasn't that bad, was it? Sony, what the hell? Well, it's not like the Kinect did any better. That thing is a complete waste. I can swing a lightsaber. The Kinect led Microsoft down a fateful casual market path leading into the 8th generation. That path's name? Losing to the PS4. Big time. There's no denying it. Go back and watch the Xbox One reveal. Bad decision after bad decision led people to lose faith in the Xbox One almost entirely. No used games, always requiring an internet connection, and a lack of focus on actual gaming, presenting the Xbox One as an all-in-one entertainment brick. And to top it all off, they require you to have the Kinect plugged in at all times just to have the damn thing work. Wait, you mean to tell me that this useless plastic rectangle has to be plugged into this slightly more useful plastic rectangle to function? The Xbox One eventually came around, but it was too little too late. By the time they decided that they were going to release a gaming console and not, Whatever that nightmare could have been, Sony was well on its way to proving to millions of fans why PlayStation 4 was the place to go for games. The number of quality titles on PlayStation right now is staggering. Like, even without Spider-Man PS4, there's still a lot to love. Hell, Ghost of Tsushima just came out, and this generation is at its tail's end. But the Xbox One ended up bringing something completely new to the table that kinda makes it hard to discredit it altogether. Game Pass. The #1 movie in America. Where did GameFly go, by the way? Does anybody still use it? If you do, please tell me some horror stories about it. I've never known anyone to use the service personally. Game Pass is basically a video game streaming service done right. This service blows Sony's counterpart, PlayStation Now, out of the water. At face value, it may seem like PS Now has the better since it has 500 games as opposed to Game Pass's 100. Well, for one, PlayStation Now is a little bloated to say the least. I've browsed through it a lot and there are some good titles available, but just as much of the selection seems to be filler. Game Pass's selection is a little more focused, and a lot of the time when a big new game releases, there's a real chance it'll get added into the rotation. Outer Worlds is still available on Game Pass, but the real deciding factor here is that you get to download every game in the library to your console. A lot of the games offered with PS Now require that you literally stream them like a movie. Your results vary depending on your internet connection. PlayStation Now isn't a dumpster fire or anything close to it, but Game Pass outshines it in a lot of ways. And it's one of the only things that I'm excited for with the Series X. Yeah, I guess this video was supposed to be about the next generation, huh? Okay, someone has to say it. Who the f*** decided on next-gen platforms being the size of a small village? Where am I gonna put them? There's nothing I can do. This is a problem I fully expect a mega corporation to solve for me. These consoles are so big, Nintendo's small but dense with features approach with the Switch definitely didn't inspire anybody. Take a journey here with me. You're 14 again, and you're going away for the weekend at a friend's beach house. What fun! You yell into the skies as you joyfully pack an Xbox 360 into your backpack because, heaven forbid, you spend any real time with said friend. At the beach of all places. Now that I'm an adult, I can't be expected to lug these trash cans around. But think of all the poor kids with nothing better to do. Okay, this is just ridiculous. By the way, I'm glad to see that Sony is being super subtle about the direction that they want the industry to move towards with that discless model. The controllers aren't great either. We're really left with two Xbox controllers. One has no eyebrows, and the other forgot that the touchpad is still useless. There's nothing DualShock about this thing. I want to be reminded that it's a PlayStation controller. I've always liked the unique identities for each controller, even if they've always had the same layout. Now it just kind of feels like, do you want shapes or letters to be the reason that you keep dying 800 times in a row? These are the issues that truly matter. A big chunk of the talk surrounding what the consoles can do is centered around performance. It makes sense. When even your fucking fridge can play Minecraft nowadays, it pretty much just boils down to which console looks prettier. To which I say, who cares? I want to talk games. Now go! I'm just gonna come out with it. Neither side really seems to have that strong a showing this time around. PlayStation 5 seems to have a few more interesting titles than the oversized trash can by a single leg hair. An entire game focused around Miles swinging around New York in the winter sounds like the kind of new Spider-Man experience I've been waiting for. And Deathloop seems like it could offer up some really interesting scenarios. I just appreciate that the PS5 reveal really seemed to push gameplay throughout its entire runtime. Nothing screams games presentation like CGI trailers and almost no gameplay. At least they didn't waste our time by putting Halo Infinite's gameplay trailer right in the front row because they knew people would flee right after watching it. I am a Halo shill. I can admit that out loud. That being said, this doesn't feel like Halo. The guns, the story, the open world, especially the guns. Call me an old man, but this game seems to be moving in a pretty drastic direction, and I don't know if I can get behind it. I'll still play it out of curiosity's sake, but that's about it. They seem to be taking a page out of Bungie's book.
Who saw in me something redeemable.
Not the right page if you ask me. It really seems as though 343 has firmly planted themselves in the position to attract as many people to Halo as possible, regardless of how they do it. As far as the rest of the presentation goes... Oh, sorry, I was pretending to snore because I'm so bored! Nothing is gripping me. Guys, hold on to your pants. There's a new Forza game. And there's no gameplay. I haven't completely lost hope for the new generation. I just don't see anything that really is making me consider a purchase at launch. Can you believe that Sony's gonna win again? By default? Shit. Miles, it's all up to you. Besides, I think that the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 prove that now consoles can evolve throughout their lifetime and breathe some new life when things start to get stale. There's a reason these companies have stuck around for so long to provide us with all the classic games we hold near and dear. Game Pass is probably going to continue to bring some exciting releases to the Xbox, and the PlayStation has so many studios under its belt, just waiting to make some crazy new exclusives. I bet the God of War sequel is gonna... I never played God of War. Is that game getting a sequel? Oh, right. The real question is who's gonna crack first and show us their price point. Something's gotta give soon. I can feel it in the air.
$2.99.